Hello, welcome back, Boxhead1 here, and today we're going to be looking at a pretty big set. This is the LEGO Medieval Town Square, and it is actually the biggest set on my channel, and the biggest set I now own, being 3,304 pieces. This one actually came with 25 bags, which is kind of crazy, and 8 figures, I can't count, and some pretty cool little side builds, a nice tree, and 2 sets of buildings, each having very cool functions and or decorations on the inside. We'll start with the figures, get onto these little side builds, and then finally finish with these 2 very cool looking village pieces. The first figure in this set is simply a painter, and she looks pretty cool. She has a nice peasant torso. It is not a female exclusive torso, which we will see on another peasant that we're looking at next. But it is just a normal peasant torso, and it's great to get that because you can do whatever you want with it. She does also have some back printing, and of course come with that nice blue paintbrush, which I don't think I've had before, and a nice paint palette as well. And she does have a double-sided face, but it's a pretty common face print. And you can see what that looks like. Very simple. The next person we have in this set kind of works at the like the blacksmith or repair shop for like wagons and stuff like that. And she's pretty cool. She does have a female exclusive torso there, as you can see with the sides and yeah. And then on the other side, she also has that, which does look pretty good. It does work pretty well as a nice torso there. And none of these, only 2 of the figures have printed legs. The other ones don't, which is kind of unfortunate, but either way, she has a nice little face print and a very cool hairpiece, which is also seen, I believe, in the Viking Village set of, I think, the next year after this was released. Pretty cool. The next figure is this older guy. He kind of tends to the animals, or he can just be like a shepherd or something. He has shears, so maybe he cuts up sheep fur or goat fur, as we'll see. And yeah, he looks pretty cool. He has a nice torso, as always, and a nice pouch, which he has on his side. He also has some nice hair, which is, I forget what figure this originally comes with, but it's a very nice hairpiece, and I quite like it. Very cool. The next person here kind of works at like a tavern or like some type of food store shop thingy, and yeah, she has a nice glass, a pretty cool torso, which I do also like, and a red dress with a nice hood piece used for a kind of like a, I don't know what you call that, with the head thing, but it's a cool little thing, despite me not knowing my proper medieval terms, which is so foolish of me. The next figure, though, also has a cool hat, and it is a kid. He has, or is it a he? No, it's a she. She has a cool little hat on, kind of like a gnome's hat, I think, which is kind of interesting. And a nice peasant torso as well. That can be used on a lot of figures. And yeah, also carries a spoon. Pretty cool. The next figure in this set is the only knight, actually, in this whole village. And yeah, he's pretty cool. He has a nice Lion Knight's torso. I don't have any original Lion Knights, so I can't do a little comparison. I will do a comparison with the next figure. But he's pretty cool. He has a nice back as well. Doesn't have any, or not any kind of insignia on it, but it still looks great. And then he carries a spear and has a very nice mustache. And that's what the other side of his face looks like, although it does get covered up very easily with that mustache. And the next figure is a wolf pack. I guess not a knight, kind of more of a bandit than a knight. That's why I said he's the only knight in the set, the previous figure. But he has a dark brown cape, which looks very good, a nice reddish brown hood, and he does have some fur under there on his torso print. Under the cape, he does have some printing, although there's not really too much. There's more fur if you see at the top. There we go. And he carries a crossbow, which is pretty cool. Now, I also have an old Wolfpack guy from, I don't know the exact year, but 90s. And although he's not complete Wolfpack figure, he's kind of an amalgamation of parts from various ones, like the black cape, the black hood, and just a amalgamation. But you can kind of see the inspiration for the torso there. And I do believe this was the first re-release of a Wolfpack guy before the CMF. But yeah, he's pretty cool. He has a very nice upgraded torso, and I think that torso looks a lot better. Anyway, let's get on to the final figure in this set. And the final figure is kind of this, like, merchant or something like that. He may also be a thief. He does carry a bag full of something, probably gold, and he carries a nice little book as well. Maybe he's a writer or some wealthy bourgeoisie type guy. But yeah, he's pretty cool. He has a quill in his one hand and a very nice stickered thing here. I don't think there's any printed elements in the set. They're all stickered. Oh, there's one, which we'll see in a second. But yeah, he's pretty cool. Black cape and not too much printing on the back side of him. But very nice. And I think all the figures were pretty good. The only thing I would want to see more of is leg printing for them. But other than that, it's great to get a bunch of peasants, because you don't get many peasants in many LEGO sets, or like nobles, or anything like that. So it's kind of cool to get that. Anyway, let's get on to the small little side builds before we get on to the big thing. And we're going to go through these pretty quickly. We have this thing, which, yeah, it's a thing. I think I know what this machine is. I just completely forget the name and purpose of it. I've seen it before, though. It's a cool little machine. Anyway, we can move on here to this, which does have a sword, or a little knife, an axe, a letter, which is not printed, unfortunately, a cup in this reddish orange, or what do you call it? Dark orange, sorry. And that looks pretty cool, actually. But yeah, it also has a candle there. Very simple. As I said, most of these side builds are quite simple. We have a log and an axe. Again, very simple there. Another log with a letter or some type of fabrication thing on a table, blueprints for this chair, which is also here. Very simple again. Moving back here, we have probably the most interesting of all the builds, kind of like a food stand or like little merchant shop here with a lot of cheese. Obviously, there's goats in this town, which I'll talk about later. So it makes sense for there to be a lot of cheese. There's some bread, croissant, and a pretzel. Very nice. Another very cool thing is this loom, which is pretty interesting to see in a LEGO set. You can see this would be a tapestry or some type of banner, which does pay homage to the old LEGO Yellow Castle, a set that I really like and is very cool, as well as another set that came out at the same time, which was a jousting set. Very nice. To the side of it, we have a little cart with a barrel with some interesting liquid inside there, or I don't know what that would be, maybe a gemstone. It's just a transparent stud in, I believe, just yellow or neon green, but it has a pitchfork on the side, and is a pretty nice little wagon build, actually. Doesn't come with any horses in the set, which is kind of unfortunate. I wish there was a horse to pull it. The final thing here is a little shield rack with an unprinted shield and then a Lionite shield, which we can actually put on the Lionite soldier. And as you can see, he looks really, really good with that Lionite shield. Very cool. Now, I should mention before we move on that this tapestry is actually supposed to be oriented the other way, so it can clip into these bottom things. But that makes it so this sticker is actually the other way around, which is weird, because you can't actually hang it from something or else the actual thing will be upside down. So I did it like this, so if I do make a MOC, and I hang it from a building or something, or from like the back of a king's throne, or something cool like that, it'll be the right way around. But it is built like that, or built it the other way around in the instructions. The next and final side build in the set is this nice little tree, and it is a bit small, but it is pretty good size for the actual village, and it has some water on the one side with some type of water flower. There's a frog in lime green. There's some mushrooms here, which is something you'll see throughout the set, and some nice stickered elements. One with a Dragonite on it, or a Fright Knight on it, which is pretty cool. I like the Fright Knights. Don't have any of them. Have some pieces of them, but they're very cool, Fright Knights are. On the other side, there's some more stickered elements. One with, I believe, the Wolfpack guy on it. We'll kind of put it down so I can focus it. Or just some other wanted criminal. And also a sale on goats, which is something you'll see later on. The actual tree is pretty simple. There's some big tree pieces here, but they work very well to make this shape, and I think it looks pretty good. With all these side things taken care of, and us being over 8 minutes into the video, which is crazy, we can get onto this, which is, well, I guess we'll get onto the first one built first, and then we'll get onto the second one, but the actual buildings, which are very nice. And this first set of buildings is pretty cool. I believe it takes up bag 1 to 12, with the second set taking up bag 13 to 25. And this is pretty cool. It has 3 buildings combined, and they do fold out. I'll show you that after I show the exterior of each. We can see the first one. It's very simple. It has some stuff inside, which we'll look at separately. And it has this very nice little crane winch with a red bird on the top. You'll see a blue one later on. If it will focus, there we go. And it has a nice little roof. It's just a simple straw roof. with a wooden, that's a printed element. There's a couple of those throughout, but yeah, simple roof like that. This is the same type of like design, just in a different color. Very simple, but very nice for the second building, which is like a cheese and like animal place. Wow, I can't speak. Place where people tend to animals. Makes sense. There we go. On the other side, we can actually turn it, and we'll see a little bee, which is something you see, I believe, 2 of in this set. And yeah, there's just a little fence gate here, which can be opened or closed. And on the other side, we see the goat in this set. There's only one, unfortunately. I do wish we had multiple goats, but having just one goat's great. He's pretty cool. There's also a little squirrel and a little area for him to drink. He can eat or pasture out here. And there's some mushrooms on the other side with a nice little tree, of which there are, I believe, 4 or 5 in this set, which is pretty nice. And moving back here, you can see there's a cool little door and a little interior in there, which we'll also look at separately. And on top, there's a little chimney. Coming to the back of this building, there are some nice green outlined windows and a little, I guess, overhang here with another one of these cool trees, a barrel with, I believe, nothing in it, but there is a bow on. I'll actually take a look in. Maybe there is something in it. Let me just check. As I thought, there is not, but there is a cool interior in there, which I'll show again in a second. Moving around, we have another one of those bees on a flower this time, or I guess the other one was also on a flower, but on a little planted flower this time here. And there's another chimney going up for this house, which is pretty interesting, and I really like the color scheme of this one. There's the white and black, which is present on a lot of medieval style like homes, I guess. There's another little one of these windows here, or I should say the only one of these windows in the set. I like that piece. It's pretty cool. And the roof is actually unique for this one. It is very, very cool, and you see the same design just with different colors on future buildings, but not in this little complex here, I guess you could call it. There's some red windows and a nice little beehive, which another one of those bees on it. Pumpkin, carrot, white carrot, which is pretty interesting to see represented here, and a bucket full of water. On the side, there's also a little green door, and that's how you'd actually get in. Now, as I said, you can actually get inside these things, and there's a couple ways you can do that. For this one, you can take off the roof, and we can look inside this, and this is actually the only way you can see inside this. This doesn't open up any further. But there's a little crates in the back with some wood on it, some sticks, and like a little axle for a wagon. There's also this system, which we'll look at in a second, that can pull this up or lower it down. And there's also another wagon wheel in there. There's also a trapdoor, which can be also activated from the inside. The other buildings can be opened outward because there's actually hinges here, 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 and here. And you can actually open them all up like this to a kind of like a 90-degree angle with that building there. And those form a pretty nice little look right here if you want to have like a little down street alleyway type thing. And that opens up the side of this where you can actually see this little knob, which when turning the knob actually opens up that. And if you turn this one, it allows it to fall. And we can do that again, flip that back around. Pretty cool. This one dictates whether that can be opened or not. And that can easily just be pushed back up. And if you turn the knob again, it kind of locks it in place. Very cool. And that trapdoor just leads down to the bottom floor, which if you take this off, because it's on those couple studs there, does kind of mess up that. But you can see on the inside, there's that door with a key in it, which I believe is supposed to be on the other side, but we'll pretend like it isn't. There's also that printed piece, which I don't know if I showed with the saw and thing like there. Basically just a workshop. And there's also a bow and an unprinted brown shield there. Our next little shop here is where you'd actually put the loom, which I'll do in a second. It has these little chopsticks, which represent kind of like needles or crochet type things. There's some more colors of fabric or, I guess, not string, but whatever you call the stuff that you make loomed projects with. There's a little stove there, or something similar to that with a pot and a fork right here, and a candle, which looks pretty cool. I'm going to put the loom in there and see how it looks. And it does quite cover up most of the interior there, although you can have it in there, and it will close up pretty fine with it. And when closing it up, you can see how those knobs are simply hidden under the roof. You can also simply take the roof off the other house to look inside. And as you can see, this is where you get all the cheese from that nice goat there. And you can see there's a lot of cheese. There's some wheels of cheese, which are very expensive these days. But there's a knife on the wall for cutting, or there's a spoon on the wall for cutting. There's a knife, I believe, right here for cutting, which I'll try and move around to show you. Gotta do a whole 360, or 180, I guess, would be the correct term. There's some cheese on the stove. There's some milk in a bowl there, and there was also some milk in there. I have no clue where it went, but that's for the cat. It's just a white stud. And there, I just took it out of the little pot there and put it in there. And you do get a little baby cat in this set. You can see him if we just simply open up this door, which can easily open. And yeah, it's seen in a couple other city sets, as well as just some other sets. It's not very rare, but it is pretty cool to get. You get another chair in the corner, and it just sits there, or you can place it on a stud. Very cool, pretty simple, and if you do move the chair away from the door, you can, of course, open all the doors in this set as well, although this one seems to be stuck for some reason, and that's probably just because these aren't pushed down well enough, right? Yep. Ooh, didn't mean to do that, but yeah, that can open up, and it looks pretty good. And yeah, that was the first part of this. We also have the next part, which is, it's not 3 buildings, but I believe maybe, yeah, I guess it is 3 buildings, kind of connected to 2, but whatever, that doesn't make much sense. I'll show you! And this is what I mean by I don't know if it's 3 or 4 buildings, or sorry, 2 or 3 buildings. I can't even speak myself, because these are kind of combined into one, this tower and this house. But this one's pretty cool. It can either be this way, or it can be folded up into this very compact little block here, which hopefully I can turn around without knocking trees off. And this block also looks pretty good. It just doesn't take up as much space. But let's look at the exterior. I guess we'll start with the like food store or shop or restaurant, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty cool. It has this little flag here, which is built with a very cool technique. If it will focus, which it never likes to do, there we go. It's very black, so you can't really see it easily. But those are handcuff pieces, which is pretty interesting, used to make the top of that sign. And I think that's a pretty cool technique. As you can see, stickered piece with some food stuff on there to show it is in fact a place where you don't get food. There's some torches at the front, a knight's helmet, which is very cool. I actually don't have this piece yet, so that's great to get. It has a red plume in it, some axe heads on either side. One just got knocked down a little, but sit right like that. And overall, looks pretty good on the exterior. There's a pie baking in the window, or cooling in the window, I should say, and some more stickered pieces up top. There's some plumes of smoke coming from the chimney, which is on the side. And on the side, you can also see there's some nice little green windows, which is also present at the bottom. And that's pretty much it for this side. We'll turn around to this side first. Wow, I just said side like 1,000 times. It used the same roof technique as you see in the brown building from the previous one, or I guess the white and red building with the brown roof. And on this side, it's pretty simple. There are some little stairs up to this castle, or tower. It's not really a castle. Stronghold, castle, tower, thingamabobber thing. And it has some pretty cool stuff for painter, which is in the bottom of it. And we'll look at that in a second on the interior. But we can turn around to the frontal side of this part. And as you can see, there's some arrow slits, or there's an arrow slit, and a kind of a more open area up there with a floor. On the very top, there is the Lionites flags in red and yellow, so you can see it's a Lionite held little fortress here. Little area you can put a figure. There's no real way up here, but we'll just pretend there is. And on the bottom, there's some flowers, ivy growing up. Another one of these trees, which looks very good. As you can see, it gives it a very nice outward jutting look with those rocks kind of setting the tower out a bit more. And yeah, there's a bird in this tree with a beard as its nest, which is a piece I didn't expect to see as a nest in this set, but that's very cool. It's a cherry tree. There's some cherries on it, and it looks pretty good with that blue bird in the nest. Moving on, we have this red building here, which is connected to the tower. It is all one building, actually, so I was right about it being 2 total. And yeah, it has a very cool little roof design up there. I think that's pretty interesting. That's one of the last things you actually build in the set. But moving on to the side, it has another chimney with 1 stack this time, and a very simple side this time. There's not much interesting stuff on there, but some flowers, some windows, and it's time to get into the interior. Now with this building, you can simply open it up and turn it around to the back, and it's pretty simple that way. You can also take off this roof, which is pretty simple to take off, and you can get access to some cheese on the top shelf for some reason, and a cup. This is kind of where I believe this guy stays. But yeah, there's a bed there in a nice blue color. There's just a table there with a candle and a quill on it, and a sword, which is, you actually get an extra sword as well in this set, which is kind of an interesting piece to get extra of. But anyway, you move on to the bottom floor, or I guess the middle floor actually, and you get kind of the kitchen where they prepare the food. There's some bread, there's a crab, which is kind of cool, in red. There is some leafy stuffs, there's a sword or a knife on the table back there, and a turkey or chicken hanging from the little knife shelf there. There's two knives, there's a cleaver, there's a fork, and there's a white bag, which is also pretty interesting. I don't think I have that piece in white. There's a barrel in the back with a fish in it. There's pots on the stove, you can see the pie in the window, and there's some logs on the side with a candle on top. The bottom floor is where people would actually eat, and we do have this door, and this key is supposed to be in the actual hole here. Let's see if I can do it with one hand, because it is difficult to line up. Almost, nah, we'll put it in. Anyway, you can see how that looks with the key in the door hole, and there is a barrel here with some probably beer. I mean, medieval peasants basically survived off that. There's this very nice little piece here, which is also seen on a CMF figure robot, which is kind of interesting. Like a gold coin here on the side of the barrel, which is pretty nice, on the tap. And over here, we have a chessboard, which is cool. There's two chess pieces. There's a white one and a black one, just the minifigure, whatever you call those statues, I guess. And there's a lute, which is a piece I actually knew, without even looking it up, that it was a lute. If you don't know what a lute is, it's basically like a pre-guitar guitar, or a banjo type thing. You can look it up, it's pretty cool. But there's also a cup on the wall, and some candles. The other building is also pretty interesting. It has an area for the knight to rest, with a yellow bed, a sword on the wall, and a letter, again, with a quill. That is also a stickered piece, if you were wondering. Each of the letters does have a different emblem on it, so that's also kind of cool. And in the bottom, you do have a little painter shop, which was alluded to on the side. And yeah, it has some painter stuff. You can have, there's a bowl there, there's a, what do you call that, paintbrush. Don't know how I nearly forgot that. There's paint all over the ground. There's an anvil and a shield. There's another paintbrush with a green tip back there. There's actually two green tip ones, I guess. There's a candle. There's a hammer. And yeah, there's another little hammer back there as well. There's a shield yet to be painted. I'm guessing it's going to be painted like this. And yeah, a little wooden, or not a wooden stove, a stone stove with a pot with something red on top. There's also the picture of some heroic king in the back, which is a stickered piece. And yeah, that's basically it. Besides, of course, there being a bat in the tower, because every tower needs a bat. And with that being said, we can get on to my final opinions on this set. And, yeah, if you know me, I really like castle sets. I like medieval things in general. I think they're all really cool. And I really like this set. I mean, it's the biggest set I've ever gotten. The only reason I do have it is because it was retiring, and it was cheap. It was cheaper than, I believe it was, what, 220, 250 retail? Something like that, 200 to 250 retail. So yeah, it's a really cool set. It's honestly one of my favorites that I have now. It comes with some very cool figures, some very cool little accessories and just buildings as well. I like having a town. It is, of course, based on an old LEGO set as well, which is also kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm just really happy with this one. I do have some things I don't like, of course, like some of these grass pieces easily fall off, specifically this one in the back. It's not held on very well. And yeah, that's basically it. Besides, of course, being stickered pieces instead of printed ones, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, other than that, I really like it. I like having the animals in the set. I like having the figures in the set. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you next time, where I don't know what we'll be looking at, but hopefully it'll be pretty interesting. Maybe not as interesting as this, though, because this is really cool. Anyway, I shall see you next time. Goodbye.